think we have a whole bunch of people online as well. So, you'll be able to see them if they have questions online, right? Okay. All right. So my name is Steve DiLorenzo. I'm a counselor here. Nope. You guys, do I need the mic or no? Yeah? How's that? Okay. All right. So thank you for coming. We're just going to review some things. You may hear things from other people, but this has just been our experience. I've been doing this for a very, very long time. Things change every year. We'll give you the best, what we think is the most up-to-date information, and we'll go from there. If at any time you have a question, please feel free, shoot up a hand, and we'll do our best to answer that. So what are we going to look at tonight? Tonight, just things like starting early, academic planning, standardized test taking, extracurriculars, college visit, application process, financial aid, and then at the end, anybody that's interested in National Honor Society, I'll go over a quick little excerpt of that. Come on this side. I don't like that side. All right. So what are you supposed to be doing? Right? Just real quick before we go, how many juniors are here? Junior parents or junior students, okay? Any sophomores? Okay, any freshmen? Okay, good. We got a nice range. Beautiful. Okay, so some of the things, juniors, you will have already done, hopefully. Maybe not. All right, so the junior checklist. This is more junior-wise, all right? Attend college fairs whenever you get an opportunity. I'll show you later on when ours is. Some of you may have went to this one this past September, I believe it was. Awesome opportunity. I'll explain why it's such a great opportunity. Juniors, you should have taken the SAT or PSATs in October, or actually everybody took it in October, but you will take it again for your younger ones. You'll take it again in September or October of next year. All right, study. This is an obvious one, but sometimes we have to say it. You want to maintain your grades. There's this idea that, oh, I'm going to be a senior. It doesn't matter. That's just simply not true. That's just not true. I get it. I get the senioritis thing. For all the young ones in here, guess what? Your parents, myself, we were all high school students once as well. So we get the idea of senioritis, but you have to be diligent, especially in today's college environment. Things are becoming more and more and more competitive. Okay, look at Rutgers, for example, right? Is there any Rutgers alums here? Okay, so Rutgers this year, okay, I'm glad you guys are all sitting down for this. Rutgers had an increase of 70,000 applicants this year. 70,000, all right? So what may have been a target school for most of our students this year turned out to not be such a target school. And a large percentage of our Rutgers applicants got denied or deferred or waitlisted because the applicant pool is just so massive this year. So obviously we at the high school level, we can't predict what's going to happen. And that's what makes this very difficult, because what may work one year may not work another year at the same school. It's a very fluid process. So who knows? I think that's over. I think a lot of it is, I think they're switched to the Big Ten. I think the fact, this is just my personal opinion, and you might know better. I think the fact that they got away from, they're now accepting Common App, which I think is, I think that they've never accepted Common App until this year. They've always either used their own application or they've used the coalition, which was sometimes a lot of people didn't like using the coalition application. They went to Common App this year, and in my opinion, that's the biggest difference, because it's simply a clicking a button. So I think you saw this massive, massive increase in applicants, and it's a great school, which doesn't hurt. So you want to continue to do well, and for the younger kids as well. Please listen to this, because a lot of kids don't listen to this. You never want to sacrifice your performance for level. There is this misconception that, oh, my kid's got to take honors in AP if they want to get into college. That is just simply not true. And where this started, I don't get it. If you can take all APs and get all A's, power to you, right? I encourage you to challenge yourself, but you should never, and I mean never, sacrifice your ability to perform at a high level in a class for level. Okay, because a college doesn't care that you took an AP class if you get a D in it. They don't say, oh, Johnny tried to challenge himself. Good for him. No, that's not the way it works. Okay, so never sacrifice performance for level. Always, you should have an expectation that if I take this, I'm comfortable with it, and I will do well in this course. And if it's at the advanced level, great. If it's at the honors level, great. If it's at the AP level, great. But your objective is always A's or B's whenever possible. Okay. Next thing is here, you want to start researching your schools for your juniors. For the younger kids, don't panic. You have plenty of time. Okay, you do. I know it doesn't feel like it to the parents, but you have time. Okay, you can start messing around on the computer, start looking at things. It's the juniors that I'm talking to here right now, and that is, you should start, if you haven't, you should start to research schools that you may be interested in. Okay, and we'll get into this a little bit later when we talk about score and some of the other things. All right, start working on your resume. Okay, start putting together the things that you've done. Reflect yourself in the best possible way that you possibly can, so that when it comes time to do your application, you're not scrambling around thinking, geez, what do I got to put here? Oh, it's all right there for you. All you have to do is transpose it to your application. Okay, this way it's not rushed, it's not panicked. You have everything there, and you can just transpose it onto your application. Okay, you're not missing potentially important things. Okay, SAT prep plan. If you plan, again, a lot of this stuff we're going to go over a little bit later in detail, but if you're going to be taking a standardized test, what's your plan? What do you want to do? When? How do you want to go about taking them? All those things. Register for them, whether it's the SAT or ACT. This one makes me nervous. Identify, there's a very key word in there. Identify possible majors, right? Most of you, for the juniors, you'll be graduating at 17, 18 years old. Is it inconceivable to think that you might be wrong at 17 years old? Actually, there's a very high probability that you're wrong. 80% of college students change their major over 2 times before they graduate. 2.3 times to be exact. So you may go in as one major, there's an 80% chance you're not coming out as that major, which is an astronomical number. But it's not hard to believe because, no offense, you're 17. It's okay. Okay, so don't panic. It's okay. So the idea is possible majors. You should have a couple things that you are interested, maybe in the same area, maybe complete opposites. You don't know, but have possibilities of what you would consider majoring in. Okay, start to refine. By the end of your junior year, you should start to refine that list. Okay, again, I'll go into all this later on in detail. We'll talk about realistic, reasonable, reach schools. Okay, college visits, early decision versus early action, develop a list of possible teacher recommendations, and then your summer plans. Does everybody know the difference between early action and early decision? No? Okay. Let me be very clear here, okay? Because this is a misconception. Early action is basically saying, hey, I want you to look at me early. Okay? So a lot of schools will have their early action or early decision deadlines. They'll have regular decision deadlines. Some have rolling admissions. They're all different, right? And this is what you have to remember through this process. Not all schools are created equal. You must understand that, okay? Just because this school accepts this or wants this, don't just assume that this school doesn't want that. Every school has their own set of standards for admissions. And you could almost always, I've yet to find one where you can't find that on their admissions page on their website. Okay, so I'll give you this example. Rutgers. Okay, Rutgers, ready? You apply through either Common App or their app. You self-report your grades. And if you want to submit your SATs or ACTs, you do. That's it. Nothing else. Okay? But if you apply to TCNJ, which is 30 miles down the road, you're going to need 2 teacher recommendations, counselor recommendations, obviously your transcript sent to that school because they don't self-report. Again, it's SAT or SAT, ACT or SAT if you want. Very, very different requirements for TCNJ than Rutgers, 30 miles apart. Okay, so it's important that you do your homework and you research the schools that you're looking at to know exactly what they are expecting from you. Okay, and again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then again, teacher recommendations. All right, this is a big thing of mine. All right, every year, again, I've been doing this for over two and a half decades. All right, I always know the kids that put in the time and the kids that didn't. Because the kids that didn't show up in October and November are in a complete state of panic. Okay, and they just start handing me transcript after transcript after transcript release, and they're applying to 15, 20, 25 schools. Which, no offense to anyone that plans on doing it, that is ridiculous. I am sorry, but that is absolutely ridiculous. That's just my opinion. There is absolutely no reason to do that. If you do your homework, if you put in the time, you should be able to narrow that down quite easily. Okay. I dealt with a student last week who applied to a very large number of schools. Now, the Common App only allows you to apply to 20 schools. So after you apply to those 20, if you find number 21 and they don't take anything but the Common App, guess what? You can't apply there. The Common App will not delete a school so that you can apply to another school. So if I've met my 20 with Common App, and then let's say I find, TCNJ, and that's, oh my God, you just happen to drive through and you find it. You're like, oh my God, Mom, Dad, this is the one. I love this school. Common App will not drop a class or a school so that you can apply to this school that you found that you love. Won't do it. Okay, I just went through this last week. Ways to find money, because without fail, every year come May, I have students in my office in tears. My parents hate me. They don't want me to go where I want to go. Because it's 16 or 17, 18. Sometimes they just don't understand the financial side of that. And most parents don't want to take out a second mortgage on their home to pay for college, right? So have that difficult conversation with your child about, this is what I have to offer you, so that they can plan accordingly. as they begin to search for schools, so that you don't find yourself in that situation where you and your, if you're single parent or you're still together, where you're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Oh my God, because you don't want to disappoint your kid, and then you're trying to scramble. It just creates stress on every level for you, for them. It's just not a good situation. So this is huge. Have that open communication right from the get-go. Okay? Being informed leads to better decisions, right? The more we know, the better decisions we can make. That's a given, right? So the more I do research, the more I find out about schools, the better decision I can make in the long run. Okay? Be supportive. I mean, this is obvious. Be supportive, but also be realistic. Now, for the kids that are here, okay, or that are listening, you have to be realistic. It's not realistic for you to expect your parents to take out a second mortgage to put you through school. Okay? So as you're searching, you have to have that knowledge that this is what I have, okay? And I have to try to work within that frame if I don't want to incur a huge amount of debt. Okay? This is a big one. You, the student, you should be taking the lead. Okay? Your mom and dad should not be taking the lead. You will have to spend the next 4 years or maybe more if you decide to get a master's right out of the gates, but you should be driving the bus. Right? Now, some parents will say, what do I do if my kid won't do anything? Well, then I would argue with you, they're not ready to go to college. I don't know. That's just me. I'm old school. Right? So, and that may very well be the possibility, right? But they should be driving the bus. Okay? When I did this job at the college level, the number one reason, anyone want to guess the number one reason kids dropped out, transferred, or failed out? What do you think the number one reason was? They didn't want to be there. It was a school they really didn't want to be at, or my mom went here, so they wanted me to go here. Or my dad went here, so I had to go here. That's a terrible idea. Right? That's just a terrible idea. Right? So you as the student should be driving the bus. Okay? Your parents are there to help guide you. We are there to help guide you, but you need to be the driver of the bus, not mom and dad. Okay? And then this is another one, create charts in the day of technology, right? With the ability of Excel and all the spreadsheets. I mean, unless you're a dinosaur like me, that I still love everything in paper so that I could see it. Create charts, create spreadsheets. If you have 7 schools, put them on a spreadsheet and say, deadline. This is what they need. They need transcript. They need recommendations. They need this. This way you can just check them off as you go. And then when it comes time, you're done. You're ready. There's no, God, did I do that? Don't I? Ooh, I don't know. And then that uncertainty creates stress, and it just can get ugly. All right. So anything you have to do, however you choose to organize, again, we all have our different ways of doing things. Never a bad idea. Okay. All right. So what are some of the most important factors in the college admissions process? Okay. Number one, understand that not all schools are created equal. All right. But the first thing that any admissions department is going to look at first is your GPA. That's the first thing they see. Right? The very first thing they see is your GPA, your grades. How did this student do? That's the first thing that they're going to look at. Okay? Once they do that, once they do that, then they will begin to dissect it. They will look at what was the strength of schedule. Did they challenge themselves? Didn't they challenge themselves? Right? Then they look at, were they involved? Did they do things? Did they play sports? Were they in clubs? Did they help in their community? Oh, let's look at the recommendations. What do these teachers who had them in class, what did they think of them? Were they critical thinkers? Were they a bump on the wall? Did they contribute? Did they not contribute? Okay, so when you pick your recommenders, you want to pick them wisely. All right, having sat on an admissions committee, I always tell this story because I just think it's so pertinent. Probably the best college recommendation I ever read, ever, in the tens of thousands that I read, was a recommendation from a teacher about a student who got a D in their class. And it was the most powerful, most interesting, most information-getting thing I've ever read from a student perspective. It was awesome. So it doesn't always have to be the student that the teacher that gave you an A. Is it a teacher that really knows you? Maybe you're like me and you stunk at math, right? But you worked so hard and you persevered and you wouldn't let anything stop you from being successful. And yeah, okay, maybe you got a B- or C, but that's not always what's most important. It's what kind of kid are you? Are you going to pack it in and not work, or are you going to rise above adversity? They love that. They love it, right? So if things are not easy, are you going to persevere through anything that you're faced with? Because work ethic, in my opinion, I don't know that there's a better gauge of future success than your willingness to work hard. Period. Okay? So think about that. So those are the things that they look at as they begin to, look at you, right? Which is always a very difficult thing, because how do we, as people, and the mission committee is looking at a piece of paper or several pieces of paper. And sometimes, as we know, paper doesn't always sum us up the best possible way. All right. So, just keep that in mind. All right. Now, SCORE. Hopefully, everybody here has at least been on SCORE once or twice. For you juniors, well, I should say any student in here. Okay. Super important that you begin to become familiar with SCORE if you are not already familiar with SCORE. Okay. Because it offers some awesome. I mean, anybody that knows me, I'm not a tech guy. I'm still stuck in the dark ages. Okay. However, I love this program. I wish they had something like this when I was in school. Okay. For any of you that are, in my generation, you probably remember walking into your career and college resource room, and we had books about that thick, right? Who remembers those, right? And you had to flip them, and the paper was so thin because they were trying to keep, and then if you turned it too fast, you ripped it, right? And then half the data in there was outdated because it was printed 10 years prior to that. You guys have everything right at your fingertips. I mean, it's right there for you. You can research any school and get up-to-date information about those schools in the here and the now. It is unbelievable what you have at your disposal in terms of researching colleges today. Okay? So you can research careers, you can research colleges, you can look and determine strengths and interests. Okay, we have profilers, personality and career profilers on there. You can take a career interest test to see, based on your personality, your strengths, what careers fit a person like you. Super valuable skill. There's companies that spend tens of thousands of dollars to do this for their employees, whether it's the Holland Interest Inventory or some of the other ones out there. It's all right there for you. Okay? Again, develop a resume and explore job outlook. It has areas where you can find, maybe you want to be an actor, right? But when you go on there, you realize that most actors, either are unemployed or they are making, $20,000, $30,000 a year, unless you happen to catch that big break, right? You think of how many actors never make it to the silver screen, so to speak, right? Not discouraging anyone from being an actor, first off. Okay, but understanding that is important. All right. So again, same thing. Research colleges. You can. This actually might be my favorite piece of this, because when you're looking at, and again, we'll talk about this later. When you're looking at your reach schools, your target schools, so not only can you go to College Board and see, or go to a college website. Okay, I can go to a college website and they may say, this is what we look for in terms of our minimum level. We want a student that has a 3.5 minimum. If they take SATs, 1,200 on their SATs, and whatever. All right. But then you go to SCORE. All right. Now, in SCORE, the only thing that you're going to be looking at is students from North Hunterdon High School over the past 10 plus years. Now you may say, well, why is that important? It's really important. It's super, super important, because what you may think is a target school because you're at a 3.7 and a 1400 on your SATs. But then you go to Villanova, let's just say, you go to Villanova and SCORE, and that you realize it gives you this thing called the scattergram. I mean, there's all different things, but my favorite thing is the scattergram. You can pull up the scattergram, and it will show you how all the students who have applied here over the last 10 plus years, how they have fared in the admissions process. Okay? And it will show you a little X where you are. And then you look at that and you say, whoa, wait a second. I thought the minimum was a 3.5 and a 1200. I'm at a, what did I say, 3.7 and a, well, we don't use 3.7 anymore. Sorry, we're 90, we use numerical, but no, I'm at a 94 and it was a 92, and I'm at a 1400 and it was a 1200, but yet most kids where I am are getting rejected from North Hunterdon High School. So does that remain as a target school, or does that become a reach school? What do you think? Yeah, becomes a reach school. Yeah, you meet what the school is saying, but you have to remember that you are competing against all the kids at North Hunterdon as well, right? Use Penn State. We usually have anywhere from 50 to 80 kids, maybe more some years, that apply to Penn State, right? We could have 80 kids with 4.0s and 1,600 on their SATs. Penn State ain't accepting all 80 of them. It ain't happening. They are not going to accept 80 kids from the same school. They're just not going to do it, right? So you have to keep that in mind, that especially we have this, it's actually quite fascinating. We have this group of schools that most of our kids will apply to, right? So you have to remember, you're competing against your own classmates as well, right? So you always have to keep that in mind. You're not just competing against the nation, but you're also competing against your classmates. So it's important to understand, and this is why this is such a great tool, because again, on their website, you may be a perfect fit, but when you look at it in relation to our data, it may not be a target anymore. Okay, so this is an awesome, awesome, awesome tool. All right, again, the exploration of majors and deadlines. Deadlines matter. Okay, deadlines matter, and we'll talk about that again. All right, another piece for you guys: most schools, not all, but the vast, vast majority of schools that you will apply to will require a recommendation from your counselor. Okay, very few schools, Rutgers does not, but very few schools do not require a recommendation from your counselor. Okay, this, your junior counselor questionnaire, is very, very, very important. Okay, because you have an opportunity to tell us, okay, above and beyond what we know about you, you can tell us the things that you want us to focus on, things that you think are important as well. We may decide otherwise, but to have that information, and parents, you as well have the opportunity to fill out your parent brag sheet about why you think your kid is so great. And those things are invaluable for us, right? I like to think I know my kids pretty well, and I always use this example because I just think it's so important. I had a young man graduate a few years ago. He was such a great kid, and he spent so much time in my office. 4 years from the day he came in, he spent so much time in my office. And never once, to this day, still amazes me. He was a very humble young man. Never once told me he was a Boy Scout. Never once told me that he got his Eagle Scout. Not one time, until he was getting his Eagle Scout and invited me to the ceremony. He didn't put it in his junior packet, didn't put it anywhere. You think that is something important for me to put in his counselor recommendation? Yes, absolutely. right? This is a nationally recognized thing. There isn't a college admissions office that doesn't understand that what goes into getting an Eagle Scout, the amount of work and time and dedication and effort. So that's a really important thing to have in there. So these things help us. Maybe you didn't tell us. Your kids don't tell us everything. Some don't tell us anything, right? So having this information is invaluable for us to reflect you, the student, in the best possible light, above and beyond what we know of you as a person. Because we also want to be able to show this is what they've done in our community. This is how they've contributed to our school. And all those things are really important in this process. Okay? So, students, juniors in particular, do not turn in your junior packet with, yes, I don't know, maybe, haven't given it much thought. Okay? Those things don't help us. All right? This is your opportunity to say, please talk about this. Okay? Okay, so course selection, teacher recommendation, all these things are important. Okay? So for your teacher recommendation, again, you want it to be a teacher that you feel knows you, can really articulate on paper what kind of student are you? What kind of person are you? How did you contribute to their classroom? Whatever that may be. Okay? Always important. If I want to go into biology, I want to be a biology major, okay? You think it would be important to have a science teacher write a recommendation? Yeah. Right? Right? Don't get a history and a coach. Right? If I want to go into a specific field, always a good idea to have one of your teacher recs be a teacher from the perceived area of interest. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're looking at it. Also, please do not wait until November of next year to go ask your teachers. We all know this, right? We all know this. There are those group of teachers that every kid loves. Fair? I'm looking at students, right? That's fair. We all know the teachers that everybody loves. So if you love them, there's a good chance that what? All the other teachers love, or all the other students love them too. A high probability that other kids are going to be asking those teachers. So don't wait till the 11th hour and then be upset when the teacher says, look, I don't have the time. I'm already doing 40 of them. Okay. And if they do say yes, are they going to be able to really give it the time that it needs? You know, those are the dilemmas you have. So always start thinking about it. Ask teachers early. Again, remember, teachers do this. They're not required to do this. They do it because they love you, they care about you, they want you to be successful. There are teachers, I can tell you this right now, there are teachers that say, in order for me to do the best job I can, they put a cap. They say, I'm only going to do 20. So if you're not one of the first 20, I'm not doing anything. And it's not because they're mean. They want to do right by their students, and they know to go above and beyond that. It's just not a conceivable thing for them to do when they're grading papers and tests and lesson plans and everything else to all hours of the night. Okay? So your course selection for next year, juniors, should still be challenging. Okay? If you are, an accelerated kid, you shouldn't drop down to all electives, with the exception of English. That's not a good idea. All right? You want to continue to be competitive, continue to take similar or above classes that you've already taken. All right. Certainly the 5 major academics. Okay. When colleges look at transcripts, ideally they want to see 20 academic units. Okay. So what that means is 4 years in the 5 academic disciplines: math, science, social studies, English, foreign language. Okay. Let's say I hate language, so I only do 3 years. I would suggest picking up an academic unit in one of the other areas, so you're still at 20. All right, you want to be as close to that 20 academic unit as possible. And so try to stay on that 5 major academic areas as possible. Okay, but with a healthy balance. Okay, to jump from all advanced classes to your senior year with 7 APs, it's not a good idea. Maybe you can do it. I'm not saying you can't, but generally that's a terrible idea. Okay, so you'll want to have a healthy balance because guess what? You are still teenagers. Okay, you should be still continuing to develop socially and emotionally as well. All right, you want to continue to get the academic rigor, and if they like that upward trajectory. So if I started here and I finish here, that is a good thing. That shows maturation. That shows that I am driving, I'm driven, and I want to do better. All those things that, hopefully the paper can tell somebody. Okay, so you definitely would like to see an upward trajectory from freshman year to senior year. Okay. By the way, this is all on our website. Anytime you see this with a red, those are all links. You can click on any of that stuff to get more information. Okay. This is a big one. Okay, standardized testing. Probably, I don't know, what do you think? Probably the single most asked question I have gotten over the last 2 years. Okay, should I take the SATs? First, I will tell you, I will never answer that. I'm never going to tell a kid not to take it or take it. That is a decision you need to make. Okay, the most recent data that we have right now is approximately 80% of colleges in the United States are test optional. Maybe that will change for you freshmen. Maybe that will change by the time you're seniors. I don't foresee that changing. I don't know about you, but yeah, yeah, some are, yeah, yeah, some of the more,
so the pendulum is swinging more with that.
So, but I do think that the test optional for a lot of, I'm not saying most, for a lot of schools is here to stay. Okay. But who knows? I mean, the process changes so often from year to year. But right now, about 80% of the colleges are test optional. Okay. So that comes, well, do I take it or don't I take it? I really can't answer that. I will say this. I do believe that there is great value for a 17-year-old to sit for a test like this. I do. Okay. Now, if you take it, you have to report it. What do you think? If I take the SAT, do I have to report it? No, you do not have to report it. All right. So if I don't like my score, or let's say I take it and I don't meet with their criteria and their test option, you do not have to report it. Okay. So with that being said, I do believe that there is great value for a 17 or a 16-year-old to take an SAT or an ACT. Just because the experience alone just gives them that idea, okay, what am I dealing with, right? So if I go to college and I've never taken a test like this and I want to go to med school, I got to take the MCAT. I got to go to law school, I want to take the LSATs, right? So having this prior knowledge of what a test like that is like, I do think there's great value in that. Sorry, guys or kids, I hope I didn't ruin it for you, but I do think that there is value in taking it, even if you don't plan to report it. And heck, you may do better than you think you're going to do. And then, ooh, okay, I like this, and you can submit. Okay, so you want to develop a plan, right? Figure out where you want to be by certain times, right? Where do I want to be by May? Where do I want to be by the start of school? So on and so forth. All right. And we are going to do this, by the way, for the junior parents, just so you know. The counselors are going to be going into all of the English classes for juniors and doing a presentation for them, very similar to this, so that they will be getting very similar information to what you're getting tonight. We're going to go a little bit more into score and kind of walk them through that, but we will be doing that here in a little bit. But create a College Board account over the summer. Go in, create your College Board account. Super, super important. Please put your login and your password in a very safe place. We do not have access to College Board. So if you lose it, okay, if you lose your stuff, you're going to have to contact them. And sometimes that's a challenging task. All right. So make sure you put it in a safe place so that you know what it is and you can access it whenever you need it. Again, we talked about junior year PSATs for your juniors. You took it this past spring or fall. Okay, ACT should be taken in the spring, in my opinion. I know some of you juniors may have taken it already. Yeah, it's really a matter of preference. I don't like that idea. I mean, this is a personal thing. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't know why people take it in their sophomore year. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm not criticizing. It's just in my brain. You know, if you're going to take it when you have as much information as possible, right? So if you're a junior in Algebra 2 or pre-calc, well, there's still a whole lot of stuff you're learning that you may see on the SAT. And if you haven't had it, how can you expect to be successful? So in my mind, I want to get as much information as I possibly can before I sit for that test. So I've always been an advocate for taking it in the springtime of my junior year. All right, a couple of reasons. The test itself inherently is stressful for teenagers, right? So anytime we can reduce stress, I think is a positive thing, right? So we offer it here at North Hunterdon in May, June, August is Voorhees, right? Yeah, August is Voorhees, and then we offer it again in October here, right? So this is a familiar place for your son or daughter, right? You go take it at, even though it's right down the road, 100 and Central. Maybe your child's never been there. The place is gigantic, right? So now the kid's going, where do I go? Already stress levels are just shot through the roof, and then they're supposed to sit and take a test, and their brain is like jumbling. They got endorphins and everything else running wild, and all this stuff. Yeah, I don't like that idea. That's just, again, that is a personal thing. If you want to, you can go on this again right here. If you click on that link, it will show you all the schools that are test options. You click on it, if I do that, is it going to mess anything? Don't do it? Okay. I won't do it. I've been ordered. So if you click on it, it will show you all the test optional schools. Okay. So again, SAT versus ACT. Really, when should I take it and which one should I take? Again, I can't answer that for you. I think it's irresponsible for anybody to answer that for you. It really comes down to you. What should I take? Again, for me, these are all personal things. I do happen to believe that, in my opinion, the ACT is a little bit better test based on what it's doing than the SAT. That's just a personal preference. If you really are curious, what I would suggest, you can go to either one of their websites. They have practice tests. You can go on, you can take practice tests to see which one you feel more comfortable and then register for that one. Back in our generation, it was very demographically specific, right? So, this area took ACTs, this area took SATs, this area took ACTs. That doesn't really exist anymore. I mean, actually, I don't know, Mr. Schwartz, maybe but I don't know a school that doesn't take either or if they do take them. That's just my experience. I have yet to find a school that won't take either or, so it's not an issue of, maybe if I do, that doesn't really exist anymore. So either one would be sufficient. You just have to kind of figure out which one suits you the best. Okay? How many times? Again, this is kind of a trick question. I would never take it more than 3 times if you really felt inclined to do so. Here's the catch, though. This is a misconception, at least in my opinion. Again, the idea that I'm going to take it in March and then again in April and then again in May, not a good idea. It's just not a good idea, okay? Because the way that these tests work is the reason they've made it and kept around this long is they're very reliable tests. Okay, so that basically their claim is we're a great predictor of future success. I don't know I agree with that, but the bottom line is they're very reliable. So they have a 95% reliability. So if in theory, if I take it today and I take it tomorrow and I take it a week from now and I take it a month from now and I don't do any other preparation, 95% of the time, I'm going to score within 2 standard deviations of my original score. Okay, so what that means is, again, this is providing I do no studying, no prep classes, no nothing. If I take it today and I take it tomorrow 95% of the time I was score within 40 points of that original score, plus or minus. So if I got a 600, 95% of the time, and of course there's exceptions to every norm, but 95% of the time I was scored between a 560 and a 640. If I don't do anything. So if I want to take it in May and I really want to take it again, I would encourage you to take the time to take a prep class, do some studying, go online, do some practice tests, whatever. I mean, again, with that often comes a financial obligation, right? Whether you take it at a college board or if you take it at Silver Oaks, some of them are extremely pricey. You know, if you want to do it, do it. But again, there has to be something that's done in between if you want to really have a chance to have a significant increase. You know, this is what I said earlier. This is from Inside Higher Ed. This is from last January. 80% of U.S. colleges are test optional. Okay, so extracurricular activity. They always operate under the idea of quality versus quantity, right? Again, I'll use the Boy Scout, for example, or Girl Scouts, right? Maybe that's all you do, but the quantity is there, right? Most Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts have been involved since they were little kids, right? They've been doing it for 13, 14 years and have committed to something, right? That is a positive thing, right? When I would look at college applications and I would see a kid that had 15 things, but not one of them was longer than a year, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. Because it doesn't show that determination, that, you know, stick-to-itiveness that you're looking for. So you want to get involved, certainly, but try to get involved in things and commit to that and dive into it and really pour your heart and soul into it, because that speaks volumes about you and your dedication to something, whether it's sports, whether it's theater, whether it's a club, whatever. You know, maybe maybe you're into horses and you like, equestrian, and you take that and you parlay that to not just riding, but, working with disabled, they have all kinds of programs with equestrian that you kind of parlay your love for this into other areas. There's all different types of ways that you can demonstrate that. Opportunity. You have an opportunity to do summer programs, do it. Do it. It's always good to show and get out there. Especially if you think you know what you want to go into, right? Which kind of comes down to these. This is a big one. In my opinion, I don't think kids take enough opportunity here to do the job shadowing. There are so many businesses in this town, in this area, that would love to have kids come in. I know, again, I have a family, my brother's a dentist. He loves it. I send him kids by the dozens. He loves it. He loves having them come in and letting them see if this is something they really want to do. And some think they want to do it. They spend the day with him and I'm like, oh my God, no way, I ain't doing that. And some go, this is great. I love this. And they continue on, and they love it. And some go to dental school or some other medical profession. So I think this is really an awesome opportunity that our students are not taking enough opportunity of. But so any chance you get to get into a field and kind of see what it's all about is always a positive. Of course, volunteer work. If any of you, how many of you have logged hours into Aspen? Not many. I'm proud of you. But if you don't know, it's right there. You can click on that link. It will show you how to do it. Because you really should be logging your hours in Aspen. All right, and be specific, your hours per week, your hours per year, so on and so forth. All right.
For job shadowing and volunteering, there are a list on our webpage, or our counseling webpage, that show what companies and what organizations in the area will accept job shadow people, volunteers, and if you are part of the business and you're interested in doing that, contact one of us and we'll get you added to that list as well.
Okay. All right. This is a huge one for me, and a lot of it's because of personal experience. So college tours. And this is kind of, again, I keep going back to our generation, but Back when we did, a lot of people didn't go visit a school until you got applied. Until you got accepted, right? Things have changed. Like, you got to be a little bit more proactive. And we can look at college websites all we want, or watch them on weekends at football games or basketball games. Nothing tells you what a school's like until you step on campus. Okay? Does anybody have any older children in here that went through this process already by chance? Ooh, you have. Have you been on any college tours yet? Okay. All right. I'm going to ask you a difficult question. I hate to put you on the spot. Okay. But when you went, okay, your child, when they left, how many times did they know like that, whether they liked it or not? Right? It is absolutely unbelievable. We are such perceptive creatures. We don't give ourselves enough credit. And being on campus, it's almost like supernatural. Like, the schools talk to kids. It's amazing. I know, again, I always use myself. When I applied to college, I always thought I was going to the University of Virginia. That's where I thought I was going to school. I was like, that's where I'm going. I got accepted. And I went down there, and I was on campus for 5 minutes. That's not a joke. 5 minutes. I was walking with my best friend, and I looked at him. I said, oh my God, Jimmy, what am I going to do? And he goes, what? I go, I'm not going here. And I really, even though I applied to other schools, there was really nothing else in my brain, because that's where I was going. And I went, oh my God, I hate it. And he was like, you've been here 5 minutes. How could you possibly know that? I'm like, I don't know, but I don't like it here. It was like, and it's a beautiful place. It was a great school. Just didn't like it. I don't know to this day what it was. I just didn't like it. And in 25 years of doing this, I hear the same thing over and over and over and over. They know almost immediately, certainly within the first half hour, they know if they like it or they don't like it. It is absolutely fascinating. So make sure you are spending the time to go see schools. Okay? You have to. And what's even more important, okay, is you always want to try to get there when there are kids, when school's in session. Going there, let's take Penn State, right? Going to Penn State in July and going to Penn State in October, two different worlds. It is literally two different worlds. It goes from a town of about 250,000 to about 30,000, because the school is State College, and State College without the students and the staff and all that, it's a different place. So your child is not going to get the same experience or exposure to what it has to offer if there's nobody there. So always try. Doesn't mean you can't visit it over the summer. Okay, but if your son says or your daughter says, geez, I kind of like that, make sure you make it a point to get to wherever that is when school's in session, because it may give them a totally different feel. Okay, so that's super, 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 super important. Okay, so go on your college tours. Always, always, always let them know you were there. Okay, anytime that you can say, hi, I'm so-and-so, and put yourself on a registry so they know you visited is to your advantage. Okay, because they will keep track of who's been there. Has this kid been, this kid lives 4 hours away and been there 4 times, and this kid lives 40 minutes away and has never been there once, or at least to their knowledge. Okay, these things can make a big difference. So let them know that you're there. All right, so we talked about this earlier, realistic versus target versus reach. Okay, when you go through this process, you do not want to have 7 schools that you are below what their minimums are. That is a very risky proposition. So you want to get a nice wide range of schools. Okay, you should have a few schools that are in the realistic or probable, meaning I exceed what they're looking for. Okay, I exceed what they're looking for. So they want, a 92 GPA and 1200, and I'm at 96 and 1400. Okay, does that mean you're getting in? Not necessarily. Okay, that the process is flawed that way. okay? But you want to put yourself in the best possible light to get in. So that's your realistic. Your target schools you are right in their average range. You're right there in their average range. If they have a range of 90 to 93, you're a 92. They have a standardized test score of 1,000 to 1,200, and you're 1,100. Those are target schools, okay? And then your reach schools, your dreaming, and I don't like this, your dream school, because sometimes you may be within that, but your reach schools are typically things that exceed where you are, okay? Don't ever let anybody talk you out of applying somewhere, by the way. Right? If you have a dream school, give it a whirl. You never know. I've seen I'm telling you, I've seen the craziest thing in 25 years where there's kids that on paper I look at and I'm like, geez, I just don't know if that's possible. And it works out for them. And then I've had kids that I thought were shoo-ins based on the numbers, and some bizarre reason they get rejected or waitlisted or deferred. It's again, a flaw in the system, in my opinion, but you want to have a good range. You do not want all your schools to be way, way up here. You should have a nice, healthy range of schools. All right, so which one should I visit? Well, really, anyone that you think that you're interested in. One you feel would be a good fit for you. All right, one that you think you have the opportunity to be successful at academically, intellectually, that you're going to socially be happy. One, again, this is a big one. This is a family thing, one that is affordable, that is not going to put you $300,000 in debt to get a degree. Okay, so, and then one that's going to have a good return on your investment. All right, and also one that is going to offer you money. There's a lot of schools, okay? There's this idea like, oh, my kid's got to go to a state school because they're going to be cheaper. I'm going to caution you against looking at things that way. Because there's a lot of schools that are private schools that will all, it may be scary because you look at it and it says $70,000, but a lot of times the private schools will give you significantly more money than say what, right? Rutgers is around what, 40,000 now, Mike? With room and board, it's right around 40,000. But because they're a land grant institution, they are very limited in what they can offer you. Right? Because they're a land grant institution, they can only divvy out their money in a very specific way. Where I go down the street to Lehigh, which is private, they have a $60 million endowment fund. So they're at liberty to give money out very, very differently than Rutgers. So Rutgers may say, well, you know what, we'll give you the 87, I think it's 87, Mike. The state aid is, or 85 a year. Somewhere, I forget. It's somewhere in that 8,000 range, right? Okay, yeah, we'll give you this 8,700 or 8,500 bucks. Oh, that's great. It drops it down to 32, right? But then you apply to Lehigh, which is 70, and they say, you know what, we'll give you 40 grand. And you're like, wait a second, what? Now you're paying less to go to Lehigh than you were to Rutgers. So don't necessarily rule schools out. As long as you have the knowledge and you understand that, okay, if I don't get any money, $70,000 school is not on the table, but don't rule those out just because of that. Because again, private schools can dole out money very, very differently than your state schools can. And those have to, in my opinion, they have to be things that are considered in the process. All right, if you're going to visit a school, juniors and above, if you're going to go visit a school, you need to fill out this college visitation form. Okay, it's on our website. You just fill it out. You give it to your counselor 3 days before, it has to be within 3 days before you leave. All right, and then what's nice is, I hope you guys all know we have an attendance policy, right? I hope. But if you go on a college visit, it's an excused absence. All you have to do is bring back a letter from the school that you were there, saying that you were there, and it gets excused. Okay, so you could go on 7, 8, 9 college visits. As long as you do what you're supposed to do, bring back a letter, all those would be excused and don't count against your absences for loss of credit. Okay. All right, so how do I get the most out of it? Right? Obviously, one is visit when school's in session, whenever possible. All right. Spring break's always a good time for us, as long as they're not on spring break. I mean, I know it's Easter for us, but afterwards, if the school you like is not on spring break, try to make a trip, right? Try to get down there and see it. Actually, it's funny. I have a niece right now who just left tonight to go visit Virginia Tech. They're on their way down there right now. Okay, so she's going to go down. We're still in session. Hopefully, you're going to like it, and we'll see. Always try. You don't always have to do this, but it's always a good idea to register for one of their tours. Again, this way you are on the books as being there, right? If you're on a missions committee and you know this kid's been there 3 times and lives 3 hours away, and this kid lives an hour away and has never been there, at least to your knowledge, and you're kind of torn between the two, which one of you think is more likely to say, I want to go there? If it's been there 3 times and it's traveled 3 hours. Right? Logic says they have a super amount of interest if they live that far and have been there 3 times, and this kid's never been there, or at least to your knowledge. All right, so keep that in mind as well. Take a detour. Maybe after the tour is done, go see the labs if you didn't get a chance to see them. If you want to go into science, go visit their labs. Go look at the local hospital to see what kind of things are out there for you. Look at the bookstore, the dorms. Believe it or not, dorms can be a deal breaker for a lot of kids. And I'm not joking. There are kids that come back and say, I'm never going there, Mr. D. And I said, why not? Oh my God, their freshman dorms were awful. They were disgusting. I'm not going there. Right? So those are important things to understand. Some kids are more finicky than others. So make sure that you're getting in there and you're seeing those things that are important to them. All right. Check out the things that are on the polls and see what do they have live music. Do they have this? What kind of activities do they have for their students? Maybe something's going on. Oh my God, I would love to do that. And it just sparks that interest in the child. All right. So look at all those things. I don't know why I'm not even sure anybody has newspapers anymore. So I don't know quite why that's there. And then this is a big thing. If you have an opportunity to get in touch with the admissions officer from our region, always a positive. Okay. It's just like, think of us as adults, right? We've always been told, you go on an interview, shoot them an email, thanking them for that opportunity, right? Just little things like that can make all the difference in the world to show your interest. So if you can make that connection, always a positive thing. All right, application process. Complete your college requirements, of course. This is a very, very, very big one. Not so much now. It used to be a much bigger issue. We do not send your SAT or ACT scores. And North Hunterdon is not an official distributor of your standardized testing. So if you decide that you want to send scores, it is incumbent upon you, the student, to go on your College Board account and send them to the said schools. We have nothing to do with that. Okay, we couldn't even if we wanted to. All right, so if you decide you want to send test scores, you must go on your College Board account and send them to the schools. And I'm just telling you, there's a fee for that. Big surprise. There's a fee to send the scores. Okay, so I think it's up to $13.50 a school. I think. Okay, so if you're going to send your scores, you have to send them. And if you don't, if you mark on your Common App that I will be submitting scores, and you decide after the fact, they're going to be waiting. You'll keep getting emails saying your application is incomplete because we're missing, and we'll say whatever you're missing. Okay, so you have to send your SAT scores if you want to submit them. Okay, your essay. This is a big one, especially in today's day and age with AI and all that stuff. It is really important that you write your essay. Not your mother, not your father, not your brother, Don't say, this is what my topic is and have IA, or whatever, is that it, IA? Yeah, right? Right. What is it? AI. That's it. See, I told you I'm like not a tech person. Okay. But that seems to be the new fad. Here's the thing. A lot of these missions, they know. These people, you got to remember, a lot of these people have been reading these things forever. They know when something is written through some computer versus a 17-year-old's eyes. They know. I'm telling you, they tell us all the time. They can tell, they can sniff it out like that. Okay? And that does not bode well for you. Okay? So you should be putting in the time. You have a resource here. Your English teachers, they will, even English 4, the whole first quarter of your English class is done working on your essays. Okay, so use that as an opportunity to refine it, but you want it to be in your words, your thought process. Okay, and again, we talked about this, the letter of recommendations, your high school transcript. Always remember this too. It is always a good idea for you as a parent or as a student to look at your transcript from time to time. Right? We, as counselors, I like to think we don't make any mistakes, but that's just not reality. Right? When you're reviewing 225 transcripts, it's conceivable that we could miss something. Right? You have one to worry about, one transcript to go over, to pour over. Right? And sometimes we're not the classroom with you. So you could have thought you ended Algebra 2 this year with a 92 average. Right? But then you look at your transcript in senior year and like, wait a second, it says 85. I got a 92. And now you want to try to fix it, 7 months later. That could be problematic. So you always want to be reviewing your transcript to make sure everything looks right. There's no problems. There's nothing missing. There's no loss of credit, whatever. Okay? Because again, you have one to look at. We have a whole lot of them to look at. Right? And again, deadlines matter. Super important. You want to guarantee yourself not admissions to a school? Turn it in late. They won't even consider it. I can promise you. They may say they will, they ain't going to consider it. When you're having, even some of the smaller schools will have 15, 20, 30,000 applications. They're going to waste the time a kid that couldn't make the deadline when they had all that time to do so. So make sure that you have your applications in before whatever the deadline is. Okay? And that's super important. There's some schools that are as early as October 15th. Okay, I know not many, but there are October 15th deadlines, and then it progressively gets, more congested. It goes October 15th, November 1st, November 15th, sometimes December 1st, December 15th, and then January 1st, so on and so forth. Some of them are rolling. Oh, that's another thing, rolling. What does rolling mean? Do you know what rolling admissions mean? Yeah. Right? So they will just keep taking them. And once they fill the class, that's it. I'm taking it. So do you think it's good to put it in at the end or the beginning? Right? Don't wait to the end because it might be filled by the time that comes around. All right? All right, so the common app topics, the essay topics, that we do not anticipate any changes from this year. Okay? So you can go and look for the 2024-25, the prompts are more than likely, I can't promise you that, but as far as we know right now, will be the same. So if you wanted to get a head start and kind of look at what the prompts for the writing essays may be, you can do that. Again, that red is a link. This could change a little bit. We're still in discussion, but this is what a transcript release form would look like. Okay. This year we had it where you could put a bunch on the same. I know Mr. Scorsia and I and the counseling staff, we've been kind of talking about maybe going back to just one per sheet. We kind of, I don't know, we have to figure that out actually pretty quickly, Mike. But this is what it looks like. Understand this. We cannot release your child's records without your permission. unless they're 18. So if you have a child that's 17 or younger, you must sign off on that because we are legally, bound by law, right? We can't release your child's records unless you say, yes, go ahead and release it, right? So you would have to fill this out, okay? All the pertinent questions, okay? You sign it saying, you would sign it right here saying, yes, go ahead, send it, right? We can't send anything until this is turned into us. I'm not going to, again, these are all links. There's several different things you could look at. You got the FAFSA, okay, CSS profile. We have local scholarships here. Last year, I think we had over $100,000 plus that we gave out as a local community. There's also the College Board has calculators that can help you figure out how you're going to go about that. And then our financial aid page on our counseling webpage has a lot of really, really, really great information for you. And I would also encourage you to, in the spring or in the fall, we usually have Greg Matan come. He is from Muhlenberg. He does an awesome job talking about financial aid. And what I love about him is, he's been the head of financial aid there for, God, forever. And for those of you that oh, he's going to try to sell us on Muhlenberg. He doesn't. This guy has the pure love of educating people. So he comes here, he does an awesome job of really going through the details of what you can expect as a parent, what kind of monies are available to you, what the process is like. So if you have the opportunity, or really want to know more, I would come to that. We don't have the date set, but we'll send you emails every month, so it would be in there come the fall. Okay? Strongly encourage you to come to that if you have any financial aid questions. All right, this is a big one. Okay, and I would, this is a little bit, I think, old. I bet you this number has increased. Okay, so in the world of technology, very important, and I'm talking to the kids that are in attendance, very, 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 very important that you are careful. Okay, because 27% of admissions officers will Google prospective students. Okay, they will Google prospective students. All right. 27 or 26% check Facebook. And 35% report finding information on these sites that have negatively impacted acceptance. 35%. And again, I would argue, because this we don't have it here. This information was from like 3 years ago. I'll bet you it's actually increased. At least I don't know about this, but this certainly, I guarantee you, it's increased. That's the world we live in. So the young folk in here, be very cautious about what you are putting online. Be very, very, very cautious because they do look. Okay. All right. So advice would be, detag yourself from any questionable information. Okay. The grandfather or grandmother test. If you wouldn't want your grandparents to see it or your parents to see it, probably shouldn't be there. Okay. It probably shouldn't be there. All right. And post positive things. Post, if you're going to do this, post things that illustrate what kind of person you are, your interests, your strengths. Okay, highlight yourself in a positive note rather than, some of the things that we choose to use online platforms for. Okay, so very, very, very important. Okay, this is just some information I think is important. It is a little bit old. Amazingly, I had a very difficult time finding any updated information from this place, but this is a while ago. So again, I think these numbers might even be a little higher now, especially post-COVID. 60% wish they had more help being emotionally prepared. 60%. It's a huge number. 87% said more emphasis was placed on being ready academically versus emotionally. All right. And 57% said they felt great deal of pressure to go to a well-known college or university. Okay, now, this is my biggest pet peeve. I get it. I don't want you to think I don't understand it. But for me, I know, I can't tell you how many parents tell me, oh, that's such a great school. Well, why do you say that? Oh, it was in U.S. News and World Report. They're ranked number 5. I can't wrap my brain around that, because I believe that you're going to get out of it what you put into it, right? For me, it's more important that, and this is as a counselor, 25 years, okay, it is more important that you find the school that fits you. You truly want to excel as a person, as a student. You need to be comfortable. You need to be happy. You want to reach your full potential. Be happy. Right? Want to be there. And if it happens to be one of these schools that are highly ranked, great, awesome. But that should not be the driving force behind your search. Okay? There are so many awesome universities that get overlooked because they're not in U.S. News and World Report. And I think that's a crime. I think it's criminal. Okay? We get fixated on this list, and I don't know that that's the way it should be looked at. Find schools, do your homework, and find that school that speaks to you. I'm telling you, it's out there. I promise you, it's out there. You just have to do your homework. Okay, when you find it, it's going to be this aha moment. And you will, parents, you will see a kid happier than anything you've ever seen when they find that place that speaks to them, and the chances of them reaching their full potential increases exponentially. Okay, bless you. All right, so, keep that in mind as you go through this process. All right. 52% said that their high school placed greater emphasis on college prestige. Now, I would argue that, because I certainly don't do that. I can't speak for everyone. Again, that prestige means nothing to me. I think finding a fit that is for your kid is the most important thing. And again, happens to be one that is considered prestigious, great. It's not, that's fine too. Because again, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. All right, 50% said they felt stressed most or all of the time. And 36% did not feel they were in control of managing the day-to-day stress of college life. And I believe this number is going to continue to grow, just kind of the way the world is right now. So it's really important that we continue to work with our young people in terms of, let's let them face adversity. It's okay to fail. This idea that failing is this terrible thing. No, be unsuccessful. It's great to be unsuccessful. I think it's the greatest teacher you ever have in your lifetime. And I think it's great when they have it when they're young. You know why? Because they get the skills they need to do it and survive when they're adults. Right? Right now, they're teenagers. It is what it is. Teenagers are supposed to make mistakes. Allow them to make mistakes and then help them solve the problem. We shouldn't solve it for them. Force them to solve the problem. I promise you, 10 years from now, they'll thank you for it. I thank my dad every day, right? For not allowing me to just, ooh, Dad, I'm sorry. No, let them solve the problems. Right? Let them figure it out, because this is what happens when we don't do that. They don't know. They don't have the skill. They got to acquire those skills. Okay? Major factors in student success, right? Ability to take care of oneself. That's huge. I talk to college freshmen all the time, like, Mr. D, I'm so embarrassed. And I'm like, why? I didn't do my laundry for the first month and a half of school. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know how to do it. Like, I'm not even know how to do that. Like, they honestly didn't know how to do it. And that is not one kid, that is many kids. Okay, so, the ability to, they have to shop on their own. They have to take care of their own stuff. They have to do their own laundry. Like, these are really important life skills. So maybe have that talk. Your kid doesn't know how to do it. Make sure they know before they do. Having the ability to adapt to new environments, right? ability to control those negative emotions when they do arise, okay, and the ability to build positive relationships. And anytime we can form positive relationships, makes us more comfortable, makes us happier to be where we are, right? Therefore, higher probability of success. All right, now this is the college fair, okay? Ours is September 18th. Okay? Strongly encourage you to come, okay? Especially the juniors to be seniors. Okay? Very, very, very important, especially if you have a few schools that you are really keying in on. If they're going to be at a college fair, go. Because the vast majority of cases, not all, but the vast majority of cases, the people that come to the college fair here are the representative for this region of New Jersey. It's going to be the person that is going to first look at your child's application. Okay? And these people are freaks when it comes to memory, because they remember everybody. I can't remember my own name from day to day. They remember, they'll come like people I saw, like, oh, hey, Steve, how you doing? I'm like, what? Like, sorry, I don't, and then think of the number of people they see. So if I'm interested in TCNJ, make it a point to come and say, hi, I'm Steve DiLorenzo. Even if you know the answer to a question, ask him something. What was your name again? Oh, you want to get on our mailing list? Oh, here's my card. You have any questions? Here you go. Right? And then guess what? The next day, hi, Mr. Smith. Thank you for talking to me last night at the college fair. It really was helpful. Right? So then all of a sudden, they're going through the applications and they come across Steve. Oh, you know what? I remember this kid. This is the kid I met at North Hunterdon. Oh, what a nice kid. Or, oh, what a jerk. I don't know. Maybe. But my point is, any opportunity you have to get your name in their head is a great opportunity. Okay, so college fairs can be a great resource for you to make that initial contact with the people that are going to look at your applications first. Okay, so I would strongly encourage you, and above and beyond that, maybe you found a school that you never ever thought of, and you're walking down the aisle in the main gym and you go, your sinus? I've never even heard of that school. And you start picking things up, and then maybe you read a thing, maybe you talk to the person, and they tell you some things that you didn't know, and you're like, geez, that might be pretty interesting. Next thing you know, you research, and you're like, oh, I kind of like that school. Oh, take a ride. Oh, man, Mom, I love this place. Right? So it's always opportunity. It's just more opportunity for you to see what's out there. Okay? So, end of this is this. Best of luck. Right? Treat this as a vacation. Right? Now you're going to go, what? Wait, parents go, whoa, hold on there, Mr. Dave. No, wait a second. Okay, what I mean by that is this, right? If any of you have ever been on a vacation, especially to a new place, right? It's not uncommon for us to sit down at the computer and say, oh man, what does this place have to offer? Right? Oh, they have skydiving. Oh, they have, water ski. I don't know. They have, they have a rainforest. Oh, cool. They have all these things, right? I want you to approach this process like that, not as this overbearing, oh my God, this is the biggest decision. I don't think that's the right way to go about this. Go about it in the manner that make it fun. Take the time to sit down, explore, see what they have to offer. What kind of good things do they have on their campus? What kind of programs do they have? Right? Okay, maybe I'm thinking pre-med, but I'm also interested in this. Make sure they have both of them, because if pre-med doesn't work out, what are you going to do? Okay, keep in mind, 80% of kids change their major 2.3 times. So do they have other areas of interest for you? Okay, all these things. Again, what I want for the kids, for you kids, is to have fun with it. I don't want it to be this daunting, oh my God, exhausting, just over-the-top crushing experience. I don't think that's what it should be. Okay, have some fun with it. Enjoy it. Okay, knowledge is power. The more you can learn, the better decisions you can make. Know that we as a counseling staff, we are always there to support you, come down, ask questions. You know, you have there's never a stupid question. Come down and see us and say, I was thinking about this. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find out the answer for you. Okay? So I wish you guys the best of luck. Okay? Please use SCORE. It's a great resource that we provide for the students. I don't think you'll be disappointed. So utilize it. Utilizes all the resources on our website. Like I said, this is posted on our thing, so you can go through it and click on any of those links that will give you all the information that you need. Okay? Yep, it's on the counseling webpage. Yep. Right.
The recording will also be the slideshow and the recording.
Yep. Okay. And it's going to be right there. As soon as you get on it, it'll be right there. Okay. Do you have any questions I can try to answer? Yep.
Actually, I raised a way of with respect to the vacation, which I did before. One question I have is like, do you have a list where it says who are the colleges because the deadline?
So SCORE has that. Yep. If you go on and you type in a college, it'll tell you when they're deadline. Yep. So if you go in, no, because SCORE offers that. So I can go into SCORE and I can type in, any school, right? There's a thing, it says search. I type in Duke University and it will take you to this page and it will say, this is the deadline, this is early decision, this is early action, and so on. Oh, by the way, I don't think I finished this. Early decision. The difference between early decision, early action. Early decision is a binding contract. Okay? It is a binding contract. So the difference between early action and early decision. Early action is saying, hey, I want an early read of my stuff so I find out early and I don't have to wait till May 15th or May 1st, I think it is. May 1st, right? Early decision, you can only do one school early decision. That's it. Okay? Because if I decide to apply early decision, parents, you have to sign it, kid has to sign it, and we have to sign saying, yes, we've explained to them what early decision is. If you go early decision, you must attend that school. You must attend that school. Because you're saying, you accept me, I'm promising you I'm coming there. All right? So it could potentially be a good thing because they say that they have a large percentage of acceptance from early decision because it's a guaranteed student. The problem is, one, if you're not 100% sure, and again, this is where kids get in trouble, they do it for these really reach schools because they think it's going to, improve their chances, but they're not 100% sold on the school. They're sold on the name, but they're not sold on the school, if that makes sense. And then they go there and they're like, oh, geez, what did I do? Okay. And number two, you have to make sure that if they don't give you any money, financially, you can afford it. Because they don't care that you can't afford it. They want their money. Okay. It's not like, oh, thanks for accepting me, but I can't pay that. Well, sorry. You're expected to pay it. Okay. So early decision is a legally binding contract that if they accept you, you will go there and you're technically supposed to pull all your other applications. Okay. Does that make sense? Yes? Does anybody have any other questions? No, I think it's great. Yeah, absolutely. Let them start exploring. Like I said, I just think it should be, I don't know, I'm such a geek. I think it should be a fun thing, right? I think it's a great opportunity. I think you should bring them. Start looking around, start seeing what's out there, what kind of schools they're looking for, right? Well, that's something you guys have to generate. And the reason is because, and this is what I said earlier, not every school is created equal, right? So that's what I was talking about, creating your own spreadsheet, your own chart, because I like to think I'm good at what I do. I couldn't possibly know what every single school's requirements were. There's over 6,000 colleges and universities. I couldn't possibly know that. So when you start finding your schools, make a spreadsheet, okay, Rutgers, deadline, what do they want? Kane, what do they want? TCNJ, deadline, da, 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 da. And then visually you can see whatever those deadlines are. Because, like I said, we couldn't possibly produce something for every single school in the United States. That would be a very tedious thing to do. Yes, I know. Yeah, I'm going to do that next.
So yeah, I'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
Score, can you look for like community colleges on score as well?
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep.
In-state, out-of-state, that's just a tuition state. That's nothing really to do with what we talked about here, right? It's tuition. Yeah.
Yep.
And then, that will be it. Oh, I forgot. Thank you.
Yep, sure. Any other college questions? I'm gonna for the juniors that are right, just anybody, if you wanted to stay for the Honor Society, I'm gonna go over a quick thing with Honor Society if you wanted to hear that. Does anybody have any other college questions that I could potentially attempt to answer for you? No? Okay. I hope it was helpful. I hope that eases your mind a little bit about the process. Have fun. Reach out if you guys have any questions. Okay. All right. Now, you're welcome. Thank you. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. One more thing on this website. There's the last slide before I go to Honor Society. There's also a whole bunch of links here to make it easy for you. Okay. All right. So anybody that is interested in the National Honor Society, okay? Anybody that is interested in the National Honor Society, I'm going to attempt to make this short and sweet, okay? In order to be invited to apply, you must have ended your sophomore year with a 92% GPA or higher, okay? So juniors, you had to be at a 92 at the end of last year. Okay. If you did, juniors, you actually will be receiving a letter from me within the next few days. I actually sent them out today. Okay. You will be receiving a letter that says, "Dear student, congratulations on your eligibility to apply to the National Honor Society, blah, 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 blah. There's a mandatory meeting on this date." I believe I put February 29th. It's Thursday, February 29th. But if you have the GPA, you can apply as a junior. Okay, freshmen and sophomores are not eligible yet. Juniors, 92 or higher. Okay. February 29th, I will meet with you and I will give you an application and explain the process. Understand this, it is not just an academic organization. Okay, it is a service organization as well. Actually, probably more important. Okay, you must look at technically there's 4 other areas. Okay, there's community service, extracurricular, leadership, and character. Okay, so obviously it's very difficult to put a number to character. That's where, signatures come in. That's where teacher feedback comes in, all that stuff. But you have to have this as minimum number of hours. I need a minimum of 100 hours of community service, a minimum of 100 hours of extracurricular activity, and a minimum of 50 hours of leadership. Okay, this is all from the start of your freshman year until the day you apply. Anything prior to August probably 23rd or so, 2001, I believe was a junior's freshman year. Okay. From that point forward are the only hours that count to applying towards the Honor Society. Okay. Nothing pre-high school counts. Only when you were a student here. All right. So just real quick, community service. Well, it's community service. You got paid. Guess what? Not community service. Actually, funny story. I had this problem with my son this weekend. I took him to one of my neighbors, an elderly guy. I was actually out over there helping him, and my son needs hours for his confirmation. So I took him over there, and we were working, and I had him out there all day, cutting trees and moving brush and this whole 9 yards. The guy came out, he was so happy, and he goes, I hope I'm not stepping on your parental, expectations. And I said, no, Jerry, what's up? He goes, I want to give your son something. And I'm like, Jerry, where are you going with this? And he says, hey, walks over and he hands him money. He goes, I remember when I was a kid growing up in Brooklyn, the elderlies would give us $1 here or a quarter there. He goes, but I can assure you that's no dollar. I'm not a cheapskate. And I go, yeah, but he can't accept that. He goes, why? Because he's doing service work. Oh, come on, nobody knows. I'm like, he's getting his confirmation, Jerry. I'm not lying on the service stuff saying that he didn't get paid. So I had it. My son was very upset because I made him give the money back. So yeah, service is service. You can't be getting paid, or else it's not service if you receive money for that. Okay, so community service is community service. Extracurricular. Now this is anything, right? Anything outside of the classroom is considered extracurricular. So could be a club, could be a sport, could be a sport outside of school. Doesn't have to be within the school, right? You may have a job. That's extracurricular. So anything you do outside the classroom is considered extracurricular. So make sure when you think about this, again, anything goes. So remember that, all right? And then 50 hours of leadership. This tends to be the most difficult for kids to understand and to accumulate. But anything where you are in charge of a group of people, you're in a position to delegate authority, you're a part of the planning process, those are all leadership. So, maybe you're the president of a club, you're the captain of a sports team. Maybe you are coaching a youth sports team as either as the head coach or as an assistant coach with your parent, where you have to teach kids. Maybe you teach CCD, right? Maybe you are a camp counselor over the summer. These are all leadership positions because you're in a position to be a positive role model. And by the way, babysitting is not leadership, okay? But you are in a position to plan activities, and you're in a position to delegate authority. You're obviously being a positive role model. Okay, that is the idea of leadership. Okay, you have to be able to do the planning, the execution, the delegation of authority. All those things is leadership. Okay. Now, let's say your son or daughter meets the academic piece, but as you kind of go through, you're like, God, they just simply don't have the hours. All right, it's okay. You have another chance. I do open it back up to seniors in the fall of their senior year. All right, so technically, I started this about 15 years ago because I thought it was important. Right, so kids that either apply and get rejected and they do more work, kids that recognize I don't have the hours, so I'm just going to work hard to get the hours. Maybe a kid wasn't academically eligible because they were at a 91.9 and they had a really great junior year and they got to the 92, so I'm giving them the opportunity to apply again or have the opportunity to apply. So if you do not have the hours, it's okay. You can take the next 7 months to get the hours, and you can apply again in the fall. Okay? Does that make sense? Any questions about that? Yes.
Leadership can be paid.
Yes, absolutely. Leadership can be paid. Okay, unlike service. So again, let's say I work for Camp Carr. That's a big one, right? So I'm a camp counselor at Camp Carr over the summer, and I'm in charge of the second graders. I'm getting paid. Does that diminish the leadership ability there? No. You're still put in a position where you've got to be a leader. You're responsible for 15, 20 kids in your group. I think that's pretty important. So.
What about staff?
Okay. That's a fantastic question. So yes and no. Okay. And what I mean by that is this. The hours have to stand independent of each other, okay? But you can use the same activity, example, Boy Scouts. The amount of hours they do is crazy, right? So for example, I'm a Boy Scout, we meet once a month, right? For an hour or 2, whatever. I can use those meeting hours as my extracurricular hours. And then let's say I do my Eagle Scout project, which is an enormous amount of, that's still Boy Scouts, but that's my service. Does that make sense? So I may have a total of 200 hours, and again, these are arbitrary numbers. I could have a total of 200 hours in something, and I want to split them because they fit in 2 categories. So I could use, again, let's take, I'll just use about Boy Scout. Let's say my Eagle Scout project took a total of 100 hours, okay? I could put 50 in leadership and 50 in service if they fit in those categories. I can't put 100 and 100 because that would imply I did 200 hours. But I could put in the same year, let's say my sophomore year, I could put 50 hours and 50 hours, okay? To show that, yes, I did a total of 100 hours,